Okay, hi, and welcome back to Think Differently. It's great to see everybody. My name is Laura Livingston. If we don't know each other, hi, I'm a business and mindset coach. I work one-on-one with my clients to help them to build, grow, and scale profitable businesses. I'm very big on building a business around work that you love. And personally, I'm just so driven by other people's passions. I get so excited. So even if it's something that like maybe on the surface I wasn't interested in on my own, once I start working with my clients and I get a sense and understanding of why they love what they do and why they're an expert at what they do and why they're so passionate about it, why it's their special talent or gift or zone of genius. That is truly what motivates me. I'm very big on really creating the change that I want to see in the world. And the change that I want to see in the world is more people being lit up by their work, more people in my world running businesses. But I just really, after 18 years in corporate in a career that made sense for me on paper, and I'm still so grateful that I had it. I was more academically and like intellectual, not academically, I was more intellectually challenged by the work and less like emotionally fulfilled and challenged by the work. And that just meant that it was not a long-term sustainable career, even though I did it for 18 years. I burned out multiple times and it just was not quite the right space and use for my gifts and my talents. And so I'm just very big on us living our lives our way, running our businesses our way, and doing work that we love. And so what I find though is when we build a business around work we love, around our passion, around our gifts, because I approach my work with my clients from both the strategy and business side and the mindset side. And so as you're hearing me talk today, if you listen to any of the other Think Differently replays, if you decide to work with me, you're always gonna hear me talk about things from both the mindset and the strategy, because I just can't see business without both sides. I really take a holistic approach to business myself and then also with my clients. But what I was saying is, I find that when we are driven by that passion, one that makes business a just much more easier, sustainable process to do something in the long term. Because who wants to do something in the long term that they don't want to do, right? Like most of the people that are growing and running businesses that they doing work they don't want to do, they're doing it to try to get out of it, right? They're doing it for a quick sale or to make some money and move on to something else. And so I'm really interested in helping people to be in this for the long term. And what I find that when we sign up for these things, right, when we sign up to do this work, the business side in particular will kick up a lot of mindset stuff, because sometimes we just kind of want to like get down to business and like serve our clients and do the thing. Like for me, I just want to be a coach sometimes, and like, the business is annoying, right? And so one of the things that I've learned, and this is related to today's topic, one of the things that I've really learned how to do in 7.5 years as an entrepreneur is to find my way of running the business and to find my way of loving the process of running my business, so that my client work, like external facing client work, and my inner, behind the scenes, how I run my business, they don't feel as much in conflict. Yes, there are certain days I have to pick a priority, but like they don't feel like they are in conflict with one another. They feel very complementary. I'm very happy to show up on a day where I'm only on client calls, and I'm very happy to show up on a day where I'm working in the business. And so that's really the balance that I'm looking to help my clients strike as you go on to accomplish whatever goal it is that you have on the board for this year for you and your business. So all that is to say, today's topic is the mindset that changed everything for me in business. And I adopted this mindset early on in my business, and I imagine that you probably did too at some level. And then I kind of let it go and kind of almost just forgot about it because I didn't think it served me. And what I have found time and time again is that this mindset, this concept, and I'll tell you about, I'm not going to like tease it out too much longer. I'll tell you about it in a second. This mindset has served me actually at every single phase in business. It's probably served me at every single season in business, like the seasons where I was sprinting and working more, the seasons where I was pulling back and managing life a little as more of a priority, over my time, things like that. I just find over and over, every time I pivot, every time something changes, when the market changed a couple years ago and it became a buyer's market, like every time I come back to this mindset, it serves me. And I find that very often I have clients at all levels of business making different, from $0 to 7 figures. I have people in all different industries, people at all different seasons, some working part-time, some working full-time, all different things going on with my clients. Excuse me. And even with all that variety, and even though they are all completely different individuals, this mindset I share with them often because it just changes. It seems to be applicable across the board in a lot of different places. So my hope is for you today, I don't know why I have a frog in my throat, that you can take away how you can apply this mindset to your business, no matter what's going on in your business right now. Okay. I'm just going to check. I've got a little funny thing going on with my technology. Okay, I think we're good. All right. So, gosh, please excuse me. A couple of I'll hold my announcements. I've got a couple of things going on, but just really quickly, if you are live and you would like to have a free mini coaching session with me, these are only available as I decide to dole them out. But what I do as a thank you for joining me live for every single one of these events is I put your name in the metaphorical hat to win a free mini coaching session. And then at the end of each month, everybody who joined Think Differently live, so even if you join both events this month, you'll get entered twice to win. And then at the end of each month, I draw a winner. The other thing that's really cool that I've really enjoyed actually is if you're entered to win, you're still entered to win for next month. So for example, if you come today and you're live and you put your name in the hat and you don't win this month, you're still in the hat to win next month or the future. So that's been kind of fun to draw people's names, and they haven't even joined in a couple of weeks, or a couple of months even, but you're still eligible to win. So if that's something that you want, just put a little note in the comments here in the chat and just tell me that you're throwing your name in the ring. And that way I'm not gifting somebody a free coaching session who already has a coach or isn't interested in getting some support at this time. Okay, so what is the mindset? It has 3 parts because I am long-winded and I can never just pick one thing. This mindset but it's also pretty simple. Some people call this a beginner's mind, but for me, it's a little bit richer, and I just think it's more helpful to understand it in this way because it's not just a beginner's mind. So feel free to reword this however it works for you, but mine is, I am willing and able to do 3 things. Number 1, I'm willing and able to learn X. We're going to talk about how to fill in that blank in a second. I'm willing and able to learn this. Number 2, I'm willing and able to master it. That's different, right? Learning is like, I don't know how to do it, or I'm not great at it. Mastery is mastery, improvement. And then number 3 is I'm willing and able to learn it again. So I'm going to give you an example so that this hopefully, if that's not already understandable, hopefully it will be really, really clear here in just a second. I'm going to give you a simple example. And I think this is a great one because this is one that maybe 50% of my clients, maybe 40% of my clients, I have a lot of clients who have a marketing or sales background or specialty. And so this will not be for them, but I do just see this happens with a lot of clients. So for me, I'm going to use myself as an example. When I started this business 7.5 years ago, I really wanted to do it. I was completely committed and ready to go. The part of it that scared me the most, the part of it that I resisted the most, the part of it that made me not want to start the business, that I really had to get some level of mindset, around in order to be able to take the action to hit go on the EIN when I created this business entity 7.5 years ago. was I didn't have, at the time, I didn't really have sales and marketing experience. I had a lot of business training, I had a lot of business experience, and I had a lot of mindset experience, but I did not have specifically a lot of sales and marketing experience. I had a tiny bit. And I was not comfortable with that. Sales and selling myself, marketing myself, having a personal brand was very stretchy and confronting and uncomfortable for me at that time. And so it's very easy to use this. So when I decided to start this business, I had to decide at some level that it was okay to be a beginner in sales and marketing and that I would learn it, right? So if we just apply this to me 7.5 years ago when I started my business, I'm willing and able to learn how to do sales and marketing. Like I'm willing and able to learn it. It's okay that I don't already know it. I don't like it. I wish I didn't have to do it at the time. But I'm willing and able, I have enough trust and confidence in myself to think that I can do this. I can learn it, or I can learn some of it, right? Like I can just learn it. And so I'm willing and able to learn it. Really helped me in that phase. This is very much, this part is very beginner's mind. And this is why I added part 2 and part 3. And part 2 and part 3 is, I think, where most of the trickiest parts of it are. But I think when we are beginners at something, we know we're beginners at something, right? Like I have friends who just started learning how to play pickleball. And we were talking about this the other day, and they were telling me like, yeah, like, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just like got on the court and started playing, right? Like we have to have, like, it was okay that they didn't feel like they knew what they were doing, because that's the nature of learning something new, right? And we don't like that most of the time. Like human brains do not like change. I have a background and master's degree essentially around how humans change. And yeah, we don't like to do it. And usually our curiosity and our interest in the thing that we're learning, if it's something fun like pickleball, will be more than our fear or our self-consciousness or whatever, our lack of confidence in the thing. If like we want to do it more than we're scared of it, then we're more likely to do it, right? And so we don't need to be 100% confident in the thing. We just need to have that tipping point of like wanting the thing more than we're scared of it. And so again, I think a lot of times we are pretty good at giving ourselves grace when we're beginners, because we know we're beginners and we're maybe more likely to just approach things with a beginner's mind. And I think if I use the pickleball example, what's different for the pickleball versus like me for sales and marketing 7 years ago is I didn't really, honestly, like I didn't really want to learn the sales and marketing. Like I had to kind of talk myself into learning it, right? Whereas because I wanted the business, like there was something on the other side of it for me, but it was like a little bit more indirect, right? I don't know if that is indirect. It felt indirect to me because I kind of had to make my peace with it. Whereas the pickleball, hopefully like learning at some level is fun, even if you're falling down, right? Even if you miss the ball. I don't know. I think snowboarding is a good example. People always say like, you're going to spend 3 days on your ass and then, or a whole day on your ass, and then you'll learn, and then you'll know how to snowboard, and then you'll be snowboarding. So it's really, really crappy at first, and then you learn how to do it. It just depends on the thing. But again, beginner's mind only hits this first phase of this question, or sorry, of this mindset. So are you willing to be a beginner? Are you willing to learn something? And what I love about the learning, and I want to just pick apart this sentence right now. So willing and able is really, really important, because I may not be able to be good back then. I might not have been able to do sales and marketing well at the time, but I know I'm able to learn stuff, right? And so I don't have to be able to fast forward to the end result. I don't have to start my business and then be able to know how to make 100K in a year. I don't have to have that. I just have to be able to learn something new, right? And then the willingness is also really, really important. It's almost like I'm willing to recognize that I'm able to learn stuff. I'm willing to put in the messiness, right? The snowboarder, I'm willing to just spend a day on my ass so that I can learn how to do this, right? If it's that messy, or if it's, I'm willing to be uncomfortable. For me, it was, I'm willing to be visible and put myself out there and have a personal brand. even though I don't want that attention, even though that makes me uncomfortable, even though I don't want to, I'm like afraid of being misunderstood and I don't want to have to explain myself all the time. I'm just willing to learn how to do that and get better at it so that I can have what I want on the other side. And I think business is, I don't know. I mean, I feel like people in the online space talk so much and in the personal development space talk so much about spending time in your zone of genius. And I'm such a big fan of that for delegating. I'm such a big fan of that for choosing how you set up your offer so that you spend as much time in your zone of genius as you can. And so I'm a huge fan of that. And we cannot take and apply that advice to everything in business, because if you're running a small business, most people are wearing multiple hats in their business, especially in the beginning, right? Most people are truly solopreneurs in the beginning phases of their business. And so I think it's really sort of damaging and confusing to be like, only work in your zone of genius. Okay, well, if I applied that to my business 7.5 years ago, I would not have had any clients because sales and marketing was not my zone of genius back then. Right. And I would have just ignored it. And obviously that doesn't make any sense. Like that's kind of like 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. Or 2 + 0 does not get me to 4. Right. And so all that is to say, I think the point I want to make here is when we are if we just go pick apart this sentence, I'm willing and able to learn this thing. Able means I remember that I am able to learn things, learn new things. Willing is I'm just willing to put in the work. I'm willing to put in the reps, right? I'm willing, just like when if you want to build strength in your weight training, right? Like you don't just like have cut arms in 30 seconds. And you probably honestly don't even have it in 30 days or 90 days. I don't know how long it takes to like create more definition in your arms as an example. But I'm just willing to do the reps. I'm just willing to work on it. I'm just willing to start at 1 pound and build my way up, right? I'm willing to learn. And then the learn piece, if we just pick apart this first sentence, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the time today talking about the other pieces. What I love about learning is it pulls you out, this mindset pulls you out of, I have to, I'm a victim to this. Ugh, the algorithm, right? That's a great example. Like every time the algorithm changes, we don't need to adjust and move and change our social media strategy every single time it changes this much, right? For most people, unless you're like a social media expert. But a lot of times that's a great example of like something that people just get out of whack. It just spins people out because they're not the ones creating it, right? Like they're not the ones moving the needle, moving the algorithm, right? Or like puppeteering it. And so, oh shit, this happened to me, right? We can kind of become victims to, I really want to have this beautiful business, but like, I don't know sales and marketing. And business requires sales and marketing. And now I'm just kind of a victim to that, right? It's Eckhart Tolle. I love his description of suffering, which is like fighting reality. Let me just let somebody in here. Right. So he says the definition of suffering is fighting reality. Right. And so if we are mad at this thing, then it just makes it really, really hard to run a business successfully. Let's see what else it does. It pulls us out of the like, I don't know how to do this. I don't have experience in it, right? Like, yeah, you don't have experience in it because you're new and you're a beginner. And that's okay because I'm willing and able to learn, right? It pulls you out of like the past and frankly, even out of the present moment at some level of like, I don't know how to do this thing. And it puts you in, yeah, but I'm willing and able to learn, right? If you're just joining us, we're talking about the mindset that changed everything for me in business. And it's I'm willing and able to learn. And then it's a couple of other pieces that I'm going to share here in a second. And right now we're talking about how we apply this to like the growing building phase of running a business at the beginning. So if we're talking about I'm just willing and able to learn how to do sales and marketing because I didn't have that experience, then I'm in a space of, ooh, what is there to learn? What kinds of things are out there? Who are the experts in this field? It puts me in a more curious, even if you're resistant about it a little bit, even if you're not enjoying it as much, like even if this, like in my example, I had to kind of talk myself into this. So I didn't like I don't want to say I went kicking and screaming, but I did not. It took me a while to figure out how to go there. I definitely had resistance, even though I was doing it. And so, but again, learning puts us in that space of curiosity. Learning puts us in that space of creativity, right? And it puts us in a space of being focused on progress. And I think this is really, 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 really important. If you hear nothing else, is this reminder. We all do this at times, but sometimes we want to look at our business and be like, yeah, I should have just learned that by now. I want to check the box. I want to get my diploma. I want to take the course and be done and move on. And yes, there are things in business that I had to learn and mostly learn once. But most of running a business, again, I talked a lot in the beginning about like running something sustainable that lasts for the long term because you're doing work you want to do and you're growing and scaling the way that you want to. In a way that serves your lifestyle, so that you can have life things as well. If that's what you're in for, right? If you signed up for that, then we're never done, right? To just quote Abraham Hicks, like in some ways we're never done. There is no diploma for business owners, right? And I think that's why a lot of times we look at like money amounts as milestones because we don't have anything else tangible to hold on to. But I think if we can just approach our business like we do a lot of important other things in life, like romantic relationships, parenting, working out, eating healthy, right? Becoming a healthier person, having a healthy, functioning, thriving body, right? Those are things that like, we don't just one and done it. You don't just do it and like, okay, right? Like my favorite example is like, you don't just get married and then go, okay, cool, we did it, great. Like, yes, that's awesome and it's something to celebrate. Now you have a marriage to nurture, right? Now we have work to do on our we will always have work to do on our relationship, right? As a parent, you will always have work to do even when your kids are older, right? And so I think it's just really important to start to look at your business if you're not already, or just your reminder when you're getting spun out about anything, is that we aren't here to like, yes, you can have accomplishments, but we aren't here to like check a box. And so whatever it is that it's good for you to learn now, it will also be good for you to learn later. And it will also be good later for you to have learned it now. And so just a reminder, again, back to this piece of learning, is when we can focus on learning, it helps us look at it as a space of progress, right? So I'm a better business owner now than I was a year ago today. But that's not because, I want to be mindful of how I say this. That's not just because I've been running my business for one extra year, right? It's not just because I lived it. It's because I put in the work. It's because I pay very close attention to my data. It's because I work on my mindset. It's because I hone my strategy. It's because I come here to these lives twice a month and I share with you my thought leadership and I hone that, right? I get better and better at that over time. It's because of all of those things and more. That's why I'm a better business owner today than I was last year. And I can just be happy with where I am now and also be even better in a year. And so so back to this whole, everybody's got that beginner's mind piece. Yeah, okay. But the hard part is, and sometimes the hard part is, I don't like to speak in generalizations, but I feel like if I think about most of my clients and myself, when we hit new milestones in our business that then bring us better and newer and more elevated challenges and problems and things to solve and things to just address and do and look at. Every time we hit a new milestone, every time something changes either on us or we change it, I find that now we've got to go back to the second piece of this mindset, which is I'm willing and able to master it. And I'm using mastery in quotation marks here. So mastery is whatever level of mastery makes sense for you and your business at this time, right? So I'm going to go back to sales and marketing as an example, right? As a business coach, if I want to have a thriving business, I need to have some level of mastery. I need to be good enough at marketing and sales to bring in clients, for people to understand my messaging, to understand what I do and don't do, to understand if I would be a good fit for them, and to be able to support them through the sales process to make the decision to invest in our work together, right? Also, as a business owner, I need to be able to support my clients in doing those things as well, right? And I do not need to become a master. I don't need to master sales and marketing to the extent that I can run your ad funnels for you, right? To the, like, I always think about ad funnels, that I am not, I don't need to be an Instagram Reels expert that gives you announcements every week on what's changing in the algorithm, right? And like what audio is trending, right? Like, I don't need to be a master at that level, right? So let's use mastery. That's how we're defining mastery. It's mastery, whatever you need right now. And I think that's really important also to define for your business, to know how good you need to be at something. So I'm willing and able to learn. That's kind of, can I just be a beginner's mind? Isn't it just okay that I have other skills to learn that will make me a better business owner? I'm willing and able to master it means, this is where I think it's really helpful when you've built a business and you've learned some things. Some of those things you only need to learn once-ish. And then there's like the mastery, which is, I'm just willing to make progress on this skill set. I'm just willing to keep getting better at being a business owner. Last week's Think Differently, the topic was what's working in 2025. And the replay is, when you get access to this replay, the replay's in the chat, but it's also, for those of you who are live, but it's also, when you get access to it, you'll get your email next week I don't know how to say this. When you get access, when the email sent you this replay, when it sends you the link, you'll have access to the other lives as well. Why am I telling you this? Because last time we talked about what's working in 2025. And one of the things that I talked about is that for the last year or two, it's been a buyer's market. And that while that can be frustrating at times, if you're in for the long haul, right? If you're wanting a long-term sustainable business, just like in real estate, there's always buyer's markets and sellers markets. And if you're going to be good at real estate for 10, 15 years, you are going to have to you're going to go through both of those things, right? And so building the skills that you need, which is really just foundational business principles, a foundational business skill, honing those skills for the last year, honing those skills this year. I don't know if it's going to continue to be a buyer's market. I'm not trying to predict the future, but I think what I was talking about last week was, when we hone those skills, we just continually set ourselves up better and better and better in the long run. And so same here, right? If we can just keep mastering, keep improving our business fundamentals, or whatever the thing is that however you want to fill in that blank here, the thing you need to work on, the mindset pattern that you just keep defaulting to when stuff happens and it triggers you, right? Can you just take this mindset to approach to your mindset work, to say, I'm just willing and able to master or to keep improving myself around this pattern, right? There's no gold star for like completing a mindset process, right? And yes, some stuff from a mindset perspective, some things are kind of just with us for our whole lives. We're learning it at a deeper level and just growing and growing and growing on one major topic. And then there are other things, from a mindset and personal growth perspective that like we can, for the most part, sort of process through and heal. But if we're willing to master it, right, then that just puts us in that space of, I'm just willing to hone it now, right? As opposed to, okay, the old me would have been like, okay, after year 1 or 2, like, holy shit, I'm tired of this sales and marketing thing. When is it going to be over, right? Oh yeah, this is just always going to be a part of it. So my job then, when I hit that second phase, when I was growing, my job was, great, how can I just find a way to make sales and marketing work for me? And I don't mean that from the perspective of like, well, I guess I do mean like having a fit between me and my business and my strategy, right? Having a business model for me that works. So when I was in this phase, that was about when I moved from, I was offering one-on-one coaching and group coaching, and I went all in on one-on-one coaching because over the years, I learned where my energy was best fit. I learned what I enjoyed most. I learned what got my clients better results. And really what I was best at. I'm a pretty good group coach, but I am a really good one-on-one coach. And so just focusing on that, right? Giving myself space to master that and then to master the sales and marketing that would help support me in bringing clients into that container. That was the next step, right? I just needed to keep improving and keep getting better and better at that and to find my way to do that that felt good, that generated results. And I think, again, when we progress on something, whether that's build phase to grow phase in your business to scale, when we progress like that, or when we just progress on something like a mindset thing, or we just improve something, like maybe you're growing your audience, or maybe you're wanting to improve your listening data for and downloads for your podcast, right? Whatever it is that you're looking to do, once we get past that first phase of like, we've done some stuff, there is this sort of resistance to like, ugh, I did it already. Like, why am I still here? Right. And when we go back into this mindset, it's like, oh yeah, this is just a learning process. Like I didn't do something wrong that I'm like still working on sales and marketing. I'm 7.5 years in and I'm a business coach and I've gotten really good at sales and marketing and I'm still honing it. I'm still working to improve it. I'm just looking to get better and better at it. Not because I'm trying to be a perfectionist, but because I just know every time I put time, energy, effort, and intention around those elements of my business, I do better as a person, my business does better, and everybody's happier. And so then it's like that second phase is like just leaning into and letting it be okay. And actually not even letting it be okay. It's kind of like letting it be normal that this is how we keep growing, right? All right, let me just check my notes and see if there's something else before we go to the third part. Okay. And then the third part is, so I'm just going to review. I'm willing and able to learn this thing. I'm willing and able to master it or hone it or keep improving at it at whatever level I need, right? Not to be a perfectionist, not to be an expert in this, but to be able to build those foundational business principles, those foundational, not business principles, those foundational skills, business skills that we need as leaders, as CEOs to be better and better business owners every year. Excuse me. And then the third part is I'm willing and able to learn it again. And that means I'm willing and able to learn it again in a new season or in a different context. And so this is where change really hits us. So great example is the pandemic, right? We're 5 years out at this today-ish. We're 5 years out from when the pandemic hit. If I think about a lot of my clients are running virtual businesses, and so that actually eventually ended up being really, really good for online businesses. And my clients that had brick and mortar companies at that time had to pivot or shut down or make a complete, like a 180 decision with very, very, very little notice, if at all, right? And so when we think about that kind of a change, right? I'm trying to think of some examples. I don't want to share privacy from a client. Let me just come up with something generic. Let's say I was meeting clients in person, one-on-one before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, I shifted to online, right? So in that phase, right, maybe I had a thriving business. I did not at the time. That was actually I think 2020 was my biggest growth spurt. And I kind of moved out of that like build phase into grow. But anyway, point being, let's say I had a thriving business when I was living in San Francisco and I was in person, and then I needed to shift to virtual, right? Great. Was I willing to learn something? Yeah, I already did that. Was I willing to master it? Yeah, I built a thriving practice. ooh, am I willing to learn it again? Because now something's changed. And in order to keep my thriving practice going, I have to figure out how to do Zoom. I have to figure out how to move my marketing to online if I wasn't already online, right? And so those are the things that this is another space. And again, this happens almost all the time. I don't like to speak in generalizations, but I feel like this is a pretty fair generalization to make for most people. Once we've built and then we've grown and we're in a space of now I'm taking what I've built and grown and scaling it beyond. How do I want to say this? There are moments when clients get frustrated because they're telling me, I already learned how to do this. I don't want, am I back here again? Did I do something wrong? I should be past this by now. That's my favorite one. I already learned that. I should have learned this by now. I should be past this by now. Why am I still learning this? Right. And it's like the answer I always tell them is like, yeah, you learned it for the phase in business that you were in. You learned it for the amount of money that you were making or the size of your business. And now that you're shifting size, you're changing, right? And the only way to change, whether that change comes upon you like the pandemic or whether that change happens because you're growing, it still requires you to kind of go back to the drawing board or like go back to basics and to learn this skill in a new way so that you can apply it to the next phase of your business. And I think this is where there's a lot of mindset things that I work through with my clients, and every person is unique and different. And I'm never approaching things the same way once. And when we're scaling, especially, or when we're going through a growth period, right? I'm sorry, when we're scaling or when we're going through some kind of change, whether that change happened to you or was created by you, we can get really wrapped around the axle of like, oh my God, it's almost like, shit, I've lost all my business skills. Like, what is wrong with me, right? I should have done this. I should have learned this already by now. Why am I here again? And what I am always telling my clients is that's just the nature of change. That's the nature of business, right? You are absolutely building on every layer and foundational piece that you've already built. You couldn't have gone from zero to where you're going now. And all those skills are still, and all those skills are going to still serve you going forward. It's not like you really have to learn something drastically different, although you do have to learn different things like delegation, being a better leader, getting out of the details, offering something that is scalable if that's what you offer. And so all that is to say that mindset, that frustration of like, which it's almost like change can make you just kind of feel like which way is up. Again, even if it's change for the good, it can throw a lot of people out of whack behind the scenes because they feel like they're doing something wrong that like, I already learned this 5 years ago. What is wrong with me? Didn't I master it, right? I learned it, I mastered it, WTF, right? And so again, if we can just come back to, I'm willing, able to learn, I'm willing and able to master and improve it on this thing, and I'm willing and able to learn it again, which isn't really learning it again. We think it's like going backward from like, 10th grade to 9th grade. But the truth is, let's use grades as an example. Actually, I think school is a great example. When you move from high school to college, right? First off, you're a freshman again, but you're a freshman. You're not a 9th grade freshman. You're a freshman in college. So you're new at this new level, but you're not new at learning how to write papers. You're not new at learning how to be a student. You're not new at raising your hand to ask questions in class. I'm trying to think like what else we did in school, but right. But you are new at like maybe having to run all the way across campus to get to your next class. You are new at learning how to live pseudo by yourself with a roommate in that sort of situation versus living in your parents' home if you just do like sort of the traditional transition, right? And it's easy to be like, wait a minute, I don't know how to like, I don't even know how to do stuff. Maybe your teachers are talking faster and they're more advanced, right? And so like you need to get better at taking notes, right? Because maybe in high school, you could just sit and listen and read your textbook a little bit and like you got it. This was not my, this is not my experience, by the way, but I'm just going to kind of use it as an example. But then you get to college and you're like, whoa, this is more advanced. I have to really think about this. This is the next level of challenge. So I'm going to hone my skills. I'm willing and able to get to learn how to, or to master in that example, to master taking good notes or to learn it again in this context because I need to be better at it in this context so that I can keep growing and thriving, right? And again, from a mindset perspective, we just always think that we're going backward and you're never going backward. But sometimes in business, it feels like that. And I just want to be, I want to take a stand for what it, if you've consumed any of my content, one of my big intentions is that I want to take a stand for what happens when we change, what happens, what really running a business is like, not just what it looks like on the outside, and like copying and pasting somebody else's business strategy. Please don't do that because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know why they chose that. And your job, and I also want to take a stand. My other intention in my content is that I want to take a stand for learning foundational business principles and how to apply that to your business right now, right? So to you, your business right now, because what you need to do is stay in your own lane, learn how to run your business, not learn how to run somebody else's, not even learn how to run a business, learn how to run your business. And that is always and ever going to be different or nuanced depending on what's going on with you, depending on what season and phase in business you're in, and depending on like what business you're in, right? And so if we are willing and able to learn it again, if we're, which really just means kind of within new contexts, within a different season, right? Then we're effing unstoppable, right? If you can learn, like I talked about last week, if you can learn, and I talked about this also in my December live that was called, it was the year in review of 2024, year in review. And I talked about like, if you're just willing and able to learn it, to get better at it, and to learn it again in a new context when you need to, that's like the sweet spot of running a business. That's not what I talked about in the live. What I talked about in the live was if you just keep getting better and better at basic business principles, at these foundational business skills, at being a better leader, at being a better CEO, at making better and more strategic decisions for your business, right? You will always and ever you're always and ever going to keep growing, keep thriving, continue to grow and make more money because you're willing and able to learn, right? And that's the final piece I want to just say, which is life and business in so many ways is like maybe not constant on a micro level, but at a macro level, it's constant change. And the better we can get at navigating that and recognizing like what's a little change and a tweak and a thing to just like let it be, and what's a thing that's really something to pay attention to, that is the skill to develop. And if we're willing and able to just learn and to keep improving, and then to learn again, quote unquote, when we have to, when we have a new season and a new context, then the mindset piece really saves you from the perspective of your stress. It puts you, again, in that space of learning and creativity and just getting better and progress versus being a victim to your circumstance versus thinking something's wrong with you. And there was something else I wanted to say about that. And it relieves the pressure, right? The other thing so a couple things that this mindset does. One, it puts you in a space of learning instead of victimhood. Two, it serves you at all levels of business, and you can fill in that blank with whatever you're working on now or whatever you need to work on now, right? Whether that's a mindset piece, some foundational business piece, being a better business owner, being a better leader, being better at running a team, all kinds of things. And then the third piece that this thing does is that it helps to relieve pressure, because we just do not need any extra pressure on ourselves running a small business. And it helps you relieve pressure because if you're prone to perfectionism, it just puts you back in the right mindset of like, oh, wait, I'm not actually here to prove myself to this, right? Like I'm just here to keep improving and improving on the things that I need to improve on, and not trying to, and again, we're going to define mastery not with perfectionism. Mastery is what level do you need right now in this thing? How good do you need to be? You only need to be as good as you need to be at a thing. It also relieves pressure because we just kind of oftentimes want to be like, I have to get good at this by this date or else, right? And that's one of the reasons why I highly recommend to my clients that like anything they're doing, that they set themselves up to be running it multiple times. So whether that's the same group program that you run multiple times, something like this where I do it every week. This is a great example, really fast before we close. I used to have a Facebook group years ago, and I used to go live every week in that Facebook group. And then I shifted sort of how I was marketing my work, and eventually gave the Facebook group away and moved to other things. And when I picked these lives up last August, we are now in April. When I picked these back up and started doing them on Zoom, right? It's kind of the same. It's really the same thing, just in a different context, right? To use that third piece. Am I willing to learn it again in a new context? I hadn't gone live in 2 years. And I knew how to do it, and I was rusty. Right? Am I just willing and able to do it again, right? I didn't need to, in that example, run it once and then evaluate myself. And if I wasn't great at it, then too bad, I'm out, move on. That's not the strategy for me. No, I was just willing and able to learn at it, to relearn it, right? Which really just meant pick it up, dust it off, rework on my speaking skills, work on how to set up my thoughts so that I have, an outline and notes that I can share things with you in a coherent way. I just had to and I'm getting better and better at it now. And I was just willing to put in the reps. I was just willing to do it until I got my flow back. And again, because I kept putting it on repeat, right? I'm not delivering the same content every week, but I am putting on repeat I'm setting up this container for myself to deliver this to you. And every time I get better, or over the time I get better. And then the final thing is, when it relieves pressure, it also helps you to track progress versus acting like there's some sort of completion thing for you to do here. And that, I think, is also really, really a helpful mindset to have when you're running a business, if you're in it for the long haul, right? Like the more we can relieve pressure, the more we can. I'm all for like having goals by a certain deadline, or depending on the context. I'm all for having goals, and those are and can be real, especially if you have sort of like a launch business model that requires launches. And when we put pressure on ourselves to accomplish a specific thing in a specific amount of time, just because we decided it should be done in that amount of time, like, we are not opening ourselves up to be creative. We are not putting ourselves in a position to thrive. We are putting ourselves in a position to like force fit something. And that rarely, I'm all for like giving yourself a deadline so you finish something, but that rarely actually creates long-term sustainable growth and thriving and money and attracts clients. Like, it just pressure. I'm not a fan of pressure. I just don't think, for the most part, that it serves us from a mindset perspective. And so when we can get aligned to, I'm just willing and able to learn, I'm willing and able to master, I'm willing and able to learn it again, it helps us to sort of let go of that pressure and to just focus on mastery, right? Like, can you hit the foul shot at the end of the game, at the buzzer beater, right? Like, that's a lot of freaking pressure. And the way to hit the foul shot at the end of the game under pressure and win it at the last buzzer beater, win at the end and be a buzzer beater, is to put in the reps and practice, right? Is to be so freaking good. I guess the foul shot isn't done at the buzzer, but anyway, to get so freaking good at shooting that basketball that it is just part of who you are and what you do and what you just make it percentage wise, right? And so that when you are under pressure, you're just doing your thing, as opposed to pressuring yourself to do something within a certain amount of time before you get to the game, right? Before you get to the NBA, before you get to the WNBA, before you get to the whatever, right? Okay, I hope that was helpful. If you have questions, hit reply to the email that sent you this replay. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway was. I would love to know if you have a topic that you want me to talk about in the future. And I will see you at the next one. Thanks so much.